It's time for the show about the people and the places of the Carolinas with the occasional visitors. In addition to hosting the award-winning syndicated TV show Life in the Carolinas, Carl White writes a weekly syndicated column and now hosts this weekly show, the Life in the Carolinas podcast. Now you can hear the story about the stories. And now, here's your host, Carl White.
New thing.
Nikki Morgan, it's so good to see you.
You too, Carl.
I mean, it's been, a year since we've sat together?
At least.
Or longer.
I think longer.
It was before COVID, right?
It was,
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, that's crazy. I feel like time has moved. I mean, like, when you think about when something was, it's 2 years.
I know, it's crazy how it all evolves and moves so. It's like it was slow when we were in it because we couldn't believe it, and now we look back and it's almost like a dream, right?
Right, exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, let's catch up. What in the world have you been doing? I mean, we sat last and we talked kind of about your heritage and growing up and the church family, and then kind of going out and doing your own thing music wise. So where are you at now?
Things have definitely opened up in not a new way, but I'm excited for the way that things have started to blossom. I think last time that I saw you, I was starting this process of, I guess I'll say healing, not to use a cliche word,
no, but
that was really what it was, and it was a process, and it took time. And now that I'm kind of I won't say on the other side of it, but I've learned a lot and I've gained a deeper understanding of things, and I have a better idea of where I want to go artistically, and a little bit more of a handle of what I'm trying to do. So now I'm kind of feeling my way around music. You know, I did this kind of home recording music project a few months ago just to try my hand at, making an EP at home.
Right. How'd that go?
It was I learned a whole new appreciation for producers and sound engineers.
Right. It's different, right? When you actually are having to put your hands to the craft as well, because you're like, why are those guys so temperamental? And now... And like, how do they listen to my voice 50 times over and over again to get that one part? I don't understand, because I can't even do it. Right.
But that was a really fun experience, because there was no in between. Everything was me, and so there was no need to translate.
Right.
So it was a great experience for me to learn how I want to build songs and kind of like my process of that. Because mostly what I've done before in the past is performing solo. And as much as I appreciate that, I'm really wanting to venture to like bigger performances and playing
with other people.
With other people.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's I guess new aspirations musically, but then also I've been playing shows. Most recently, I've had the pleasure of joining the Black Opry Review.
Okay.
And they've been kind of touring all over, bringing, country music that looks a little different than what most people are usually used to. They were kind of bringing that to the masses.
So I know you've traveled. So you've been in Chicago. Did I see you in New York? Did you go to
Not
New York?
yet,
okay.
But I will be this year for the first time. And that's exciting.
All right, New York's coming up.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about this group. I mean, tell me about this experience, because I know when we were exchanging messages, you said, "Hey, I'm excited about a history project. Let's talk about that, because that sounds fascinating."
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that I have now, and I'm very eager to explore, where those questions are coming from, but then also like what the answers are, maybe.
Right. So like what kind of questions? What in this time of discovery, time of healing, I think when we go through something, whatever that something is, whether it's light or really heavy and we need to get to the other side of it just so we can breathe, right? things surface. And when that quiet time, we have new thoughts, right? So it sounds like that's a little bit of what's happened, right?
It is. Yeah. Again, kind of going back to that time of healing, especially with being home around and being active in family life again, right, after being gone for 10 years. There's definitely things that come up, and having to address wounds that you haven't had to address for 10 years when you're coming back home is difficult, and it does pose questions. And a question that I've really been asking a lot lately is kind of moving away from the whole like family thing, but more so towards merging the past with the present, and then looking towards what to do with that for the future.
Right.
I've been thinking a lot about how I grew up in church and the things and the sounds and the experiences that I had from growing up in that environment, because both my grandfathers pastored pretty, I would say, like more small, somewhat more like traditional style churches in Lexington, North Carolina, primarily, and then in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so thinking about that, so like church and what all I experienced, but then also looking at this current kind of like wave of reanalyzing the story behind country music that's been happening in the Americana world. I know a lot of people are familiar with Rhiannon Giddens and the way that she really tries to insert the history of folk and bluegrass music, right, and how it includes people outside of like your stereotypical white Appalachia and all of that, and how it was such a diverse, and there's so much that even like black enslaved people were involved in the inception of that. Kind of taking that and looking at how that's kind of been spotlighted lately. I'm kind of taking that, my mind is kind of in the same thing, but I'm asking the question of how has traditional gospel from the South influenced country music, so more specifically country music.
So what are you finding? What are you discovering?
I'm finding that there is a lot of foundational and like foundational basic, I don't know what's the word.
The influence.
Yes, the influence is there.
No, sure.
And so now, and when I talk about when I think about that, so like the influence of gospel onto country and how the line between the two of them can be blurred, I think in my mind I'm thinking more so of like more traditional, so not necessarily like 2000s 1990s gospel, sure. But more of like the hymns. One of my grandfather's favorite songs to sing all throughout my all throughout my life was the song Can't Even Walk. Can't even walk without you holding my hand. Sure. That is such a traditional, I say traditional, I guess like in the modern sense. It's a song that a lot of Christian gospel
a lot of people relate to.
Well, they relate to, but they also know that song. Sure. I think people are used to hearing it in this very kind of I don't know. I'm having a hard time putting these pieces together, but what I'm trying to say is that song is a really good example of the ties between gospel and country, because if you listen to it on one ear, it sounds very traditionally country, but then you listen to it on another ear, it sounds very traditionally gospel, and it almost is like they're one and the same. So that's something that I've been exploring is where is the line? How do you differentiate between gospel and country?
So let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, just as a conversation, because that's fascinating to think about. And is it possible, well, this is just, we're talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is it possible that the gospel side of our lives, that appreciation for gospel music and how it makes us feel, when you think about country music, there's always the emotional side, right? Usually it's, somebody done somebody wrong, or it's a love story, or it's, it's got something to do with trucks and dogs and
Mm-hmm.
people. There's always something. There's a story, right?
Right.
And it makes you feel. So maybe gospel music. I know gospel music makes me feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's that thing there, and when you grow up with, a diverse group of people, or it's not, but later in life we find ourselves with everybody. And maybe that, I know a lot of country music performers, and I don't know many of them that don't have some type of a church background, that influence. So
Right.
maybe that's one of the common things that we all think about. But you're specifically like, I want to put words to this. I really want to figure this out. What's the connection, right?
Right. And I want to learn more of the history, too, so then when I'm having conversations like this, I can be like, when you look at gospel from these years,
Sure.
It directly influenced this country.
Sure.
So that's a part of that. That's a part of what I want to learn.
I love that. You know what I love about it? I love it that we're talking now because you're on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here at this moment talking about the realness of a journey, of where you are. And it's like, I don't know the answer, but I want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I met Don Flemings.
Mm.
And Don was going down this amazing road with the Carolina Chocolate Drops. And then he started doing these, what I just consider them great educational pieces of looking at black cowboys and the music and that era and how important it is. And now, he's followed it all these years, and now there's exhibits in the Smithsonian Institute, because of his work. But it's had to start somewhere. So you're on that journey of starting. You're a great performer, and you have a heart for this. So, oh my gosh, when we're doing this 5 years from now, it'll be like you're going to be rattling off all the data, all the history, and that's great. This is pretty cool. You are an archivist. You're a historian in the making.
Oh, that makes it, that's really encouraging.
Yeah, but can you see that? Because of what you're saying you want to do, there's nothing to keep you from doing that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I do see that, and something that I've had to learn is to not get overwhelmed with the possibility of a question or delving into what
sure.
that is, and just taking it one step at a time and be like, okay, these are the questions that I have now, and letting it unfold. So I think I've done a good job of just like taking this, one step at a time and just letting it unfold. But this is not, I think the seeds for this little tiny bud that's starting to blossom started years ago. When I remember seeing the Carolina Chocolate Drops for the first time in person in Chicago at Blues Fest of all places, and hearing them talk about the history of the banjo and all of those, and all of the songs that they were performing, I remember feeling some kind of like attraction to what they were doing. And I later realized that it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to do the same. I wasn't as curious about, bluegrass and the banjo specifically, but I remember having these thoughts of like, but I feel like there's probably a similar correlation between like gospel and country. And those were thoughts that I were kind of like, just kind of like skirted.
Curious about.
Yeah, even years ago. So yeah, it is kind of like a journey that unfolds.
Let me ask you, when you were in Chicago and you saw those guys for the first time, I saw them for the first time, and I interviewed them in Charlotte at the Night Theater. It was one of the Blumenthal theaters. And I was blown away at the energy that it took for them to put on that show. Dom was playing the jug and all these things, but the music was just so strong and powerful I was highly, I'm talking about it now, and that was 12 years ago, I guess now. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to what you were saying about kind of the soul and energy of that kind of music. And again, when I like watching them perform is just great because you feel like, and performers like them. I used to think to myself, I don't want to be one of those performers that's like giving history lessons during their show. But I think I'm probably on my way to being one of those performers. Oh well, that's why you got to watch out what you say you never want to do.
As the days pass, we get further away and closer to something, right? And let's kind of break it, since you're on this discovery. I think a lot of us are looking for something. So what is it about country? I mean, what is it that when you listen to country music, what is it that gives you that sense and that connection? You say, oh, that makes me feel like that person must have had a connection or been influenced by their church experience.
So that's something that I've been asking myself. More specifically, what is it that makes me think that I can call my music country? But when I listen to it, I think of it more so out of the feel and the words that's being conveyed, as opposed to like the technicality or like the theory part of it all.
Right.
But I mean, I do hear rhythms sometimes, and it's like, oh, that sounds exactly like what we had at church,
right.
But this isn't church music, it's country.
Right.
So like that's automatically an inclination for me. But also I think kind of going back to the storytelling that you kind of alluded to earlier,
right.
That element in country music, that is very much a part of, specifically for me, because this is what I grew up with,
right.
but that kind of like small black Southern church, apostolic was the denomination of my church growing up. So I think about those services, and the music was, always such a wonderful thing in itself, but even a part of the services, we would have testimony. There would be a testimony portion where people could stand and share either something miraculous or something that they're struggling with, or
right.
just, something that they want to share with the congregation as a word of encouragement, or just, to ask for prayer, for support. And that is such that's storytelling literally happening within in the service. And so there are elements of that. And I realize that the music that I do now does not necessarily sound like a lot of what you hear playing on country radio now. And that's not to say, I think it's just to say that I understand that my music might not sound like the typical country that you hear now, but it has so much of those country elements because it's telling a story. It's me conveying me as an everyman. I think that's another key element to country music, is it's kind of like this everyman genre, right, where you don't have to be rich to understand. You don't have to you can kind of brag in country music. There's these right. grandiose images that you get all the time, but all of it is kind of it's still all tangible, theoretically for most people that are listening to it. You can understand the words, you can get the concept, the things that they're doing or singing about, going to a bar. It's nothing too crazy. So I kind of consider country as this everyman's genre, and that's the music that I write. So I think when I think about all of that together, the gospel foundation mixed with storytelling and this soulful almost acknowledgement of God or greater forces that I think it's kind of cheesy, but I'm very guilty of it. It's always trying to find the silver lining, and always trying to find something good about it. And that's something I challenge myself with too, because not all country music is just like things are bad but they're okay. Sometimes it leans into the I'm just lonely,
Right. And then that's what a common human emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many people are sitting in a room full of people and they feel lonely, right?
Yeah.
So are you going to be a country music singer?
That's a hard question to answer, because for me, when it comes to singing,
right,
I feel like I'm just a singer. I can sing everything. I can sing a lot of. I'll say I'd be careful of saying everything. I was getting ready to say I can sing a lot of different styles.
I kind of see you. I can go with the country vibe, but I kind of think you're country, gospel, Jerry Lee Lewis.
Mm-hmm. I'll take it.
You
kind of like that early rock and roll vibe.
Yeah. I kind of see that. I remember the first time I heard you sing. If I remember right, it was at Talia's coffee shop, I think.
Oh,
I think
yes.
I think that might be the very first time, and I was like, wow, she's got some talent. I think Zach Brewer was maybe putting on that event, his family, and yeah.
Christmas 2018.
Yes.
2018.
2019. It had to have been 2019 because I didn't get down here till then.
I think you had just come in. I mean, you hadn't been in long.
Yeah, I had just gotten here.
Okay, because that was... Yes, because that's when we did the first podcast, right? We had the first visit. And, you talked about stuff then, too. I remember. And I was like, oh, what's Grandpa going to say? And what did he say? I should have called, but
Oh, he gives me my space, and I appreciate it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of family, and when somebody's in that leadership role of with a group of people, you're supportive, but you got to give people space, right?
Right. And that's something that is a very important thing to me, is being able to interact with people and respect the things that they hold dear, and that that are precious to them, whether it's a thing or a belief. And I think it's I think that's such a beautiful, at least like my relationship with my family in a lot of ways is a beautiful example of that, where it's like, I know you probably don't like what I'm doing, but you love me anyway, and I know. And we can still have Thanksgiving dinner together, or like I can still come to church on Sunday, and it's fine. And I respect the fact that, like, because of where I perform a lot of my shows, that some of my family might not come to the performance because that's not a place that they feel comfortable.
Right.
And I don't get mad at that. I feel their support in other ways.
Right.
And so, yeah.
So have you had this conversation about country music with family yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
I know that probably sounds surprising. It just it hasn't gotten there yet.
Right. Well, I don't think they'll be surprised, will they?
No, I don't think so. But it's funny because like my dad's so like my brothers and my cousin on my dad's side, they're all kind of like the musical folks, right? And when we play together, they're always like, I don't know how you got to, this is my cousins and my brothers, they're always like, Nikki, I don't know how you got to playing country music. And it's like, and it's funny because it's like, but it's kind of the same,
Right.
You just play on the 1 and 3 instead of the 2 and the 4.
Right. Well, we're all on a journey, so it's like, I love what you're sharing, because you're talking about going down a little bit of a different road and trying to figure it out. That's a great place to be. I mean, when we get complacent and we're not trying to discover something new, that's not a good place to be in. I mean, if you're a creative person, you continually challenged, and obviously you're getting this inspiration from somewhere.
Yes, from somewhere.
Have you written what you suppose? Okay, I've just written my first country song. Has that happened yet?
I have written songs that are very country. I have. they're like, you would hear it and have no doubt in your mind that it's a country song, from the lyrics to to like the way the melody is.
Right.
What I've written lately is really exciting, because as I've been on this exploration journey, I have these songs that kind of toy the line and ride the line between gospel rhythms and melodies and country. You know, it rides the line between country and gospel very, very, like, very nicely.
Right.
So
how do you feel when you sing it?
I feel great. I feel like I've finally found a voice that I can settle in. And I don't want to say my voice, because I think it's all my voice. It's just different points in time. And that kind of goes back to your question of if I'm going to be a country, singer or I don't know if that's what you said, but
that was a question.
Yeah,
that was a question.
But it's like, for now, this is what it is, and it feels nice, because I have been diligent towards trying to find what is it that I can sing or try to replicate whatever anybody else does, especially as a singer. But I've been really trying to distinguish what my voice is, and not necessarily like the most earnest version of it, but at least an interpretation of that I feel comfortable in. It's like, this is me, kind of like this is kind of like this is what I can present to you as
your voice.
My voice, at least for now. And it is very much country and gospel, and it's so soulful. Like, since I've gotten braces, I've been able to experience more freedom in my singing voice, and that has just been so fun, because I feel like I have a revitalized voice, and I can do so much more. For so long, I was singing with a lot of restriction, and like it really hindered what I was capable of doing. And I've had braces now for like a year. I have another year left, but
it's made a lot of difference already.
It has already, and having more freedom in my voice to really just play and use my voice as the instrument that it is. It has just been so fun, and especially mixing that with like this self-healing process that I've been through. There's so much more freedom in singing now. So for now, it is, and I think it probably makes sense, this kind of gospel country fusion, because that's so like soul. It comes so like deeply from the soul. So maybe, and
you had a little pain you were getting through, right?
Yeah,
you're going through some hurt. You're doing that healing process, and can't make a great song without some pain, can you?
This is so true, unfortunately.
I know, it's like, creative work, there's always that angst and the pain that goes, but before people applaud and stand up, right? Because they can feel it. I think it's because we all have our moments of pain, and we can feel when somebody's written or they're performing from that same place, or at least their version of it.
Right. Let me tell you, I try so hard to resist the urge to just be one of those people, nothing wrong with those people, to be the type of songwriter that mostly only writes breakup songs. Because I'm just like, I just want to write about more than just breakups. But I tell you, the fastest that I write a song is like after some dude's broken my heart. Like, as soon as that happened, I'm like in my book, like 3-4 songs.
Right. As long as you keep on writing, though, that's maybe you've got that core of like, okay, these are my most painful, angry songs, and then the further away you get, and then when the next person, I think I'm falling in love again. So maybe there's that sweet spot, of where a little pain but hope as well. Right? Yeah. So maybe it's in the middle somewhere.
It's actually I think that's actually helped me kind of learn my process of coping with something like that, like a heartbreak.
Right.
It's like now that I've been writing songs for a few years, I'm starting to see like, oh, so you're in this phase of the breakup now. You know, you're writing the songs where like, oh, I hate you, and then it's like the next day it's like, I'm so sorry. You know, so I'm starting to pick up on that now.
Right. Oh my gosh. I wonder if that, maybe that's why I have a lot of friends that are songwriters as well, and many of them have multiple that they in and out of relationships. Maybe they need that roller coaster
to get them what they need.
To get the songs. Oh my gosh. Well, that's so exciting. Well, have you got something? Have you got a new song that kind of, lets us know where you are, right now on this journey from the music that's you've written? It's like, okay, this is my happy right now.
Yeah. I can play you I'm Going Home. That's the one that I did for the Tiny Desk contest. But I can do it on acoustic here. It'd be a little nice.
That'd be great.
But this one's a really good example of where my head's been at with the whole gospel country kind of fusion thing. Is
that because the title that sounds like you're going to a warm place?
Oh no, the song is about a fed up woman finally saying to their lover, you suck, I'm going back home.
So maybe a little truth in this one?
I'm sure to some extent. I'm sure.
Okay, Bob, this is for you.
Right.
We use Bob to protect the guilty.
Yeah. It's very kind of you.
Yeah. All right. It would have been so ironic if that was his real name.
I know, right?
You'd be like, well,
how'd you know?
Following me? What are you doing? No. Well, we'd love to hear the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Fine.
As long as you're
I'm like, I don't know. I'm thinking I have to move and everything. All right. This song is I'm Going Home.
Six-pack and a bottle's worth of ride. I'm leaving on a jet plane and no need to say goodbye, 'cause you've been moving sideways since the day that you were born. So I'm packing up my things and I am heading for the door. I'm going home. Oh, I'm going home. Now you can't sit right there and wonder. You can't sit right there and pray. Make a deal now with the devil. I will still be on my way. And ain't no use in calling me in a week or so, 'cause this old man's making up her mind. This old man's gotta go. I'm going home. I'm going home. And I'll go back to my mama in a county full of clay. I will go back to my daddy and I'll throw it all away. I'll take the love you gave me and I'll sell it for a dime, and then I'll light it up and smoke it while I'm leaving you behind. I'm going home. Well, I grabbed myself a six-pack and a bottle's worth of gin. Oh, Lord knows I need it with the awful state I've been in. And Lord knows I've been tattered. Yeah, Lord knows I've been torn. But you know what they tell you, never leave your woman scorned. I'm going home. Oh, I'm going home. Oh, I'm going home.
Wow. Oh, that's great. That's so different than 2 years ago.
Is it?
Oh
Yeah,
my
it is.
gosh. That's, I mean, and it was so rich. I mean, it just really felt good. I mean, not for the guy, but for you too, but hey.
You know what's funny is I actually wrote that song in 2019, but it's one of those songs that, again, now that I've been writing songs for like 5-6 years now, I'm starting to learn how songs can open up, which kind of goes back to why I'm wanting to do more than just solo stuff now, because now I'm starting to hear and understand. It's like, oh, this can be that. And this song has always had pretty much the same vibe, but like it's changed a little bit and opened up a lot more. And
But your voice though, have you noticed? Do you see the difference from 2 years ago to now? How you sound singing that song?
Oh yes. Yes, I'm thankful that I've been doing work towards this. It hasn't just like by happenstance, but my ear has developed so much more now, and I have a lot more confidence in my voice, and that's a huge part of it. So and it's exciting. I love singing that song. Even when I mess up, it's kind of like it's almost kind of like this fun puzzle of like, if you hit a wrong note, how are we going to get back to where we need to be?
Right. Well, the thing of it is, when you've got, it's your song and you wrote it, right? How are they going to know?
A flat note is a flat note.
Well, a flat note is. That's right. Oh, my gosh. Well, I got to tell you, I love this journey you're on now. So we should we'll help you with that. I really want to see where that goes for you, and this discovery of. I find it fascinating. Some of the common threads between country and gospel, and maybe how folks have approached that from different communities. And that would be interesting to explore.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll support you on that project, because that sounds like a great idea, and it'll be interesting. I can just imagine. That I don't know. Your brothers and cousins might start. You all start a country band.
I have a dream of doing like a gospel, kind of like a gospel compilation or of hymns. Because it's also, if I may add, it's also a desire to give, I guess you can say, my generation of folks something in modern history. It's like a tradition in more modern history to hold on to.
Right.
That goes beyond like slave narratives and all of that. And you can't undo the history. But there are things that we have, and I'm speaking specifically of Black communities especially in the South in America. We have developed tradition. We've developed things that can be sacred to us, and I think there's a lot of people in the younger generations who really desire something that's not a slave story to hold on to as tradition. And I think that's just something that happens over time, right? As history evolves and time moves on, it's always good to honor what has been, but we also have to make sure that we're like keeping the story moving. Right. And it's all context, isn't it? It's about the time. We have our distant past, and then our not so distant past, and then our living past, which is, while we've been on earth, these things have happened, and then when our grandparents were on earth, we hear their stories, and then their grandparents' stories. So, but we are here now. So but the fact that you're going on the journey, and it sounds to me like, hey, let's just do something now. We honor our past, we celebrate that, but we're celebrating it today. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I love that. I like that, like the distant past and the not so distant past, and remembering to, I like that.
I mean, look, we're sitting here. We like each other. We enjoy sharing stories together, and that's what makes us better as people, right? Of all people, it's community, and that's a beautiful thing. Nikki Morgan, just like the first time, I was like, wow, I can't wait to see where you go. And now I'm like, wow, look at this. Look what COVID did to you. You got COVID and turned into a Dolly Parton. Oh, my goodness. I thought I saw butterflies following behind you as you came in. Oh, my God. Well, I just think it's great. You know, you're on the journey now, and that's a wonderful thing. So I can't wait to see what you've got to share with us next time.
My pleasure, and thank you for being bringing history to the forefront in the way that you do. It's really encouraging, and I think the first time that, getting to know you the first time definitely encouraged me in my spirit to, delve a little deeper. So I appreciate you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to the Life in the Carolinas podcast. If you enjoyed your time with us, please visit the show's website at lifeinthecarolinas.com. Join our mailing list, and we'll keep you updated every week on what we have coming up and other interesting things around the Carolinas. We value you as a podcast subscriber. We'll see you next week. And remember what Carl says, it's never a bad time for a good story.